So those far left antinatalists are like pivoting from "you will own nothing and be happy" to "everything for everybody." You can't really, like, I see a disparity between those two slogans. Like, how can you have one and then have the other? But it's really just a pivot. Ideally, uh, you would have the same liberties, freedoms, and abundance that would exist in like turn of the century. But we don't. And pointing that out doesn't mean you're against it. So like, I noticed that back in like 1950, a 12-year-old could hop in a tractor, drive to the drugstore, pick up a prescription for somebody else, for the grandma or something, and then drive past a cop and wave. That's like ideal, like a time of dignity and freedom. And so, can you say that we should still have this today? Like it's so far from a possibility that wouldn't be a huge problem. To have like 12-year-olds driving around and picking up prescriptions for somebody else. If a cop sees them, they're supposed to even visit the parents and be like, yo, what is going on here? We also have these like resources that you can sell or tax and regulate, like air, like water and air. That might sound diabolical. Like, how are you going to make a business out of something that was always free? But it's like a maximum capacity thing. And I'm not even talking about how we manage land, because obviously we only live on 5% of the land. So there's going to have to be at some point, like something has to give. Because, like people are wondering like, how come what used to take $1 to buy, now it takes $15 or $20 to buy it. Like, why can't you keep the value stable? Like, that's not really a smart argument. Like, it's not. It's like just ignorant of so many facets of a developing economy. Like, you can't say like that it's immoral or unethical to regulate and manage how the air and the water, even if you need them. But then at the same time, why do people live in a hovel? Why do they get together and clump up like oatmeal and build their houses on top of other people's houses until you have this like social decay? And we don't have any knowledge as far as self-reliance. Like, it's not even possible. You can't say that you should be self-reliant, because I have to identify, I don't even know how, and how should I expect you to? I can unplug, but then, you have to kind of like squat on the land that is so abundant. Like, why is it that people squat in other people's houses, or, find loopholes to move into somebody's property and just manage it, and then now they can't even get rid of you? Like, shouldn't people be using their resources, their knowledge resources, to utilize that which is free? If you would have been born in 1910, the government would have just put you on some land. They would have just put you onto some dignity. You wouldn't have to scrape and like Diddy says, I like you when you're like crawling around on the floor, scrimping, like scrounging and scrimping and shit. Like they just, like, it wasn't even a question. And now it's like, so if you won't afford everybody the same thing, you must be against that. Well, I'm not against anybody having knowledge how to utilize resources like land, and they haven't really taxed the air. That was just an example, but that's just an example to say, is like, as bad as it could be, it's not an argument to say like that we should have it, because there is the reason is that we're a debt-based economy that has to hook itself in to a metropolis, a necropolis, basically. It's like a Potemkin village, right? And so that's why conspiracy theorize about a lollipop guild of invisible midgets, like a Timotkin, like a Munchkin, you know, seems like and they like, it's a trip. It's like, yeah, something has to give, because you can't force everybody into the debt-based economy of basically getting fed through a tube eventually, owning nothing and being happy, and then equating that with everything for everybody, because that is not a feasible thing. Like, ideally, yes, but if it's not feasible, then pointing out that you know, the fluctuating dollar and like that you know, water costs more than beer, like pointing those things out is true. Like it's useful. Like you could say that and you're right and everything, but it's not something that you can say that our politicians and leaders have to fix that, because we don't live in that world anymore. Like, you can't really. And you have to, if you want that, you have to figure out how to, I don't know, filter water, turn some dirty water into some clean water, turn a piece of unused land into some dignity. Like, and you know, nobody's really going to help you with that. You know what I mean? I mean, I can set up a channel and monetize it and give you some tips and get some super chats, but I'm not going to help you with that. Like, you really got to go through that on your own, and there's going to be a high degree of suffering in the adjustment, and that's all you, buddy. That's all you. Like, I don't know. I kind of wish that there was somebody that you can be like, oh, we're going to organize a group and we're going to chip in. We're going to buy this. We're going to set up. We got researchers and people to help you with, like, I mean, if you don't have that, you can't really complain about why they're regulating natural resources away from, like, the masses, when you're supposed to, you know, they're saying everything for everybody. They could just pivot to, you'll own nothing and be happy. If it can't be everything for everybody because that's not feasible, it's only ideal, then we'll just say you'll own nothing and be happy. Like, they're going to this pivot back and forth shit. And then on top of that, the solutions are like antinatalism, abolish the family stuff, like family, that's capitalism. Like, it's kind of hard to delineate sometimes between a Democrat and a leftist, because they made this false dialectic of everything is far right and everything is far left. And then they're going to say that we should become adult and reach across the aisle and have a discourse and talk about it so that we can agree to disagree. And then, like, but it's impossible because, you know, it's politics is about power. I was just watching this on the Crucible. You can't, because, like, it's baked into the dogma. I don't know if you want to say dogma, because, like, people can identify things that are religion, or basically they won't grant you that certain things are also religions. It's not important for them to, since, you know, you can do your own thing. But to the extent that you're not allowed to do your own thing, it's a knowledge gap, not a will, not a power of will, or just being able to make a decision. So you need to address the knowledge gap, not the fact that a dollar can't buy what it used to buy. Because the reason they don't allow people to occupy that land, when there's so much land, and, you know, where I saw like it's impossible to access, and they don't have like this and that. Like you're depending on the infrastructure to pipe water in, or electricity or something. Like you really have to make everything over again to as opposed to like just being a dummy and being like, well, keep the money the same value, like stop this inflation from going on, and then give us one more minimum wage raise, and then just stop that. Like you like that. It seems ideal. Like just give us one more minimum increase wage, and then stop the inflation, and we'll be good. But they got to keep people from. It's like we have all these resources that need to be managed and taxed and everything, but you have to live in a debt-based economy of like a metropolitan, noisy, unhealthy, like all like crime, like everything. The answer is not in the politics; it's in that fucking land. Getting over there, it's not reaching across the aisle. It's just unplugging. And I don't know if this that like it's the power dynamic needs to have it both ways. They have to have their cake and eat it too. Like they need all of these uninformed people being what's it called, enraged, because like when you think you have interpreted a message that needs to get relayed, and you're up against opposition, it can be overwhelming and you can get enraged. But then when you discover or you learn more, then you realize like things that you were trying to say, like you felt like that you had to get like things expressed and across to people. You no longer have to get them across to people. You get it's de-enraging. Like it's saying, when you know the truth, you don't really have to speak it. But when you don't know, you think you know. The problem is that until you know, you don't actually know. But then when you do know, you know. When you do know, you know. You don't have to clamor to get all these points across and be heard and all this kind of shit. Like, that's kind of enraging, and I can understand it. So people need to get the kind of information or knowledge that's useful for them, and so that they won't be have the urge to go out and convince a lot of people to come over to a political ideation that it's impossible, because there's no compromise between the vast degree of far left and far right. The only solution is to use that land. You can clean up the soil. You can make, like, you can clean up things. Like, if it's not great land, you can do things to bring in, to make it an oasis. Like, it's just a matter of work, and it's like we're willing to do it, but it's too late before you realize that that's what you should be focusing on. Then you're already old, then you're already dependent, and then you're already all these things, and you wasted a whole bunch of time in cognitive dissonance, enraged, when if you just had some good information, you'd be disenraged. But the far left has this amazing appetite for just being able to do mental gymnastics and just being like these little anecdotes that they just pivot, like they just quibble, like they just look for the duality. They just try to find out what you believe so they can point out any possible contradiction, and then they can just tell you what to think, say, and do. But what isn't it for you to tell somebody what they can think, say, or do? You must be enraged. You need some good information. And I'm not talking about better political information. I'm not talking about low information voters. Like, who cares if you're low information if you don't vote? If you're not interested in politics, if you're not invested in that shit. Like, and the more unplugged you get, the less invested in that shit. Like, the less that it affects your life, the less you have to care. But this society can't sustain, I guess, the way it is, in the direction that it wants to take, the path that it wants to take, which is a kind of only makes sense to greed and power that can't even be afforded to the minions. Like, the devil won't share with any of his demons. Like, he don't share shit with any of his demons. It's not kind of what it's about. So that's why I think, like, even if you have a point, that a lot of these positions are just non-affluent. It's the only thing that it's like, okay, so what are you deconstruct? I guess you would be deconstructing the present day, what's it called, dystopic, like destination that we're kind of going toward. Like, the people that are invested in that are not even going to be, that's why they said you'll own nothing and be happy, because they're telling you you're not going to get really shit. Even to join them, you have to be one of the elite. I don't see them, like, contributing anything to the population. So then they're going to come up with a party called the Populists, and they're just doing the same thing, like, as calling yourself progressive, or there's this other thing I forgot right now. I forgot it since yesterday, but it was a good analogy. I can't